What unfolds when a CEO steps into the shadows of his own deli? And here's a revelation that transforms everything. Mark Reynolds reclined in his office chair, gazing at the mounting stack of customer complaints accumulating on his desk. For more than 10 years, he had taken immense pride in his company, a chain of 12 delis that brought him joy. However, lately, there has been a sense of unease as feedback regarding discourteous service, extended wait times, and discontented staff has been accumulating. He attempted to tackle the issue with his managers, yet their reports consistently depicted a far more favorable scenario. Determined to uncover the reality, Mark resolved to witness it firsthand. With the assistance of a skilled makeup artist, Mark adorned himself with a faux beard, glasses, and a touch of ruggedness. He donned a worn hoodie and jeans, stepping into the role of Mike, a fresh recruit. He was an enigma. Most employees had never encountered him face to face. He depended on district managers to manage the daily operations. 2 days later, Mark strolled into one of his most bustling locations, nestled in a hardworking neighborhood. The manager, a lean figure known as Carl, hardly cast a look in his direction. "So you're the newcomer, huh? That's fantastic. Simply avoid making mistakes." Carl offered him an apron and motioned to the counter. Mark's initial assignment was straightforward. Observe the existing staff and grasp the fundamentals. He found himself partnered with a young woman named Mia, who appeared weary yet welcomed him with a warm smile. "Hello, I'm Mia. It's quite hectic here during lunch, but I'll guide you through the essentials." As the lunch rush descended, Mark swiftly recognized the whirlwind of activity enveloping the deli. Frustration hung in the air as customers fidgeted, orders became a jumbled mess, and Carl shouted commands from the shadows, yet never took a moment to lend a hand. Mia, on the other hand, maintained her composure, expressing apologies to the irritated customers and striving to ease the situation. By mid-afternoon, Mark observed that Mia had not stepped away for a moment. She completely bypassed lunch, despite having worked tirelessly since 9 a.m. Intrigued, he inquired, "Don't you have a lunch break?" Mia paused, her voice barely above a whisper. "This place is beyond my budget for dining. Despite the employee discount, it remains prohibitively costly. Occasionally, I pack my own meals, but this week is different." She managed to smile and shrugged, yet Mark could discern the embarrassment flickering in her eyes. Her words struck him with the force of a blow to the abdomen. His staff found it difficult to dine at his own deli. Uncertain of how to reply, he simply nodded and returned to his tasks, yet the exchange lingered in his mind. Later that day, Mark observed Carl's behavior as well. He was severe with the team, berating them for trivial errors. When a teenage cashier mistakenly rang up the wrong order, Carl scolded her in front of the customers. "Are you aware of your responsibilities? It's time to pull it together, or you may find yourself in a difficult position." The girl's cheeks flushed, and she whispered an apology. Mark tightened his fists, battling the urge to remain silent. He felt an overwhelming urge to tear away his disguise at that moment, yet he understood the importance of observing further before making his move. At the conclusion of his inaugural day, Mark found himself engulfed by a sense of overwhelm. The diligent employees, such as Mia, were overwhelmed, while Carl's guidance fell short of expectations. As he exited the deli, still cloaked in his Mike persona, Mia's words lingered in his mind. He lingered in his car, gazing at the deli through the glass of the windshield. "What have I overlooked all this time?" he murmured softly to himself. Mark understood that this was merely the start. Tomorrow he would delve further. The following morning, Mark made his way to the deli, arriving a full 15 minutes ahead of the start of his shift. The outside air was invigorating, carrying with it a delicate aroma of freshly baked bread from the kitchen. He lingered near the employee entrance, observing as the staff filtered in one by one. Mia arrived last, gripping a worn lunchbox and appearing as though she had barely slept. She offered him a weary smile as she walked by. Within the confines of the room, Carl was already issuing commands with fervor. "Mia, get the sandwich station ready. Mike, you're responsible for the dishes until the lunch rush begins." With a determined nod, Mark made his way toward the tight dishwashing space. The morning unfolded with a sense of monotony, yet it was undeniably taxing. Mark washed the dishes quietly, taking breaks now and then to catch snippets of the chatter among his colleagues. Many appeared to accept Carl's harsh management approach, yet he overheard murmurs of discontent. "Have you heard the latest about Sarah?" A cook leaned in and whispered to Mia by the sandwich station. She resigned last week, stating that she could no longer endure Carl's constant yelling at her. Mia let out a deep breath. "I can't fault her. He's been increasingly difficult to deal with recently." Mark sensed a tightening knot in his stomach. He was unaware that the turnover was this severe. As the lunch rush neared, the deli buzzed with the lively chatter of customers. Mark received a summons to assist Mia at the counter. She moved with purpose, crafting sandwiches with a cheerful demeanor, maintaining her calm amidst the frenzy, even as customers began to show their impatience. Mark endeavored to maintain his pace, stumbling at times yet gaining knowledge with each step. Amidst the bustling crowd, an elderly patron in a wheelchair faced challenges navigating the queue. The man's voice was gentle, yet Mark could detect the tension woven within it. "I just need a bit of assistance if you could," he said, attempting to push ahead. Carl observed but remained unresponsive. He was engrossed in instructing a cashier on the art of upselling. Before Mark had the chance to intervene, Mia was already in motion. She stepped away from her post, circled the counter, and knelt down next to the man. "How may I assist you today, sir?" she inquired with a gentle warmth. The man beamed, a clear sense of relief washing over him. "Only a turkey sandwich and a coffee," Mia acknowledged with a nod. She swiftly delivered his order to the kitchen, skipping the queue, and came back just a minute later with his meal. With great care, she passed it to him and assisted him in locating a seat tucked away in the corner. Upon her return, Carl rushed over with intensity. "Mia, what on earth was that? You have just abandoned your post during a hectic moment." "I was assisting a customer, but honestly, it doesn't matter to me." Carl's voice sliced through the clamor, sharp and commanding. "Fulfill your responsibilities or refrain from coming in tomorrow." Mark stood still. The deli fell silent for a brief moment as patrons turned their attention to the unfolding interaction. Mia bit her lip, her complexion wan, and returned to the sandwich station in silence. Mark sensed his patience fray. He could no longer remain quiet. Once the hustle and bustle faded and the dining space cleared out, Mark discreetly guided Mia to a quiet spot near the back hallway. He spoke gently. "You didn't deserve that. Your intentions were purely to assist." "It's fine," Mia responded, though her voice quivered slightly. "This position is essential for me. I can't let it slip away simply because Carl is having a rough day." Mark scowled. "Has he ever treated you this way in the past?" She paused for a moment, then gave a slight nod. "It isn't solely my perspective. He treats everyone that way. There's a palpable fear of making mistakes, as it could lead to either a reprimand or a reduction in our hours." Mark's jaw clenched. This wasn't merely an unfortunate day, it was a harmful cycle. Later that afternoon, Mark experienced another unexpected surprise. As he was disposing of the garbage, he caught snippets of Carl's conversation on the phone outside. "Indeed, I've been taking a bit extra," Carl murmured, his tone subdued. "The upper management remains oblivious. They're so caught up in the spreadsheets that they fail to notice the bigger picture." Mark's heart raced, gliding through the moment. He sought evidence. He stepped back inside, thoughts swirling in his head. He had to maintain his disguise for now, but this situation required attention. As the day drew to a close, Mark had reached his limit. He expressed his gratitude to Mia for guiding him through the process and assured Carl that he would catch up with him the next day. Carl merely let out a low grunt in reply. That evening, Mark found himself in his home office, gazing intently at his laptop. He examined the payroll records for the deli, meticulously comparing them with the latest inventory reports. Indeed, inconsistencies emerged. Carl was secretly stashing away money from sales that weren't documented. Mark tightened his jaw. Tomorrow, everything is set to transform. The following morning, Mark made his way to the deli ahead of his usual schedule. He parked a short distance away and remained in his vehicle, mentally reviewing all that he had discovered. The superficiality, the poisonous atmosphere, Mia's fatigue. It was more dire than he had envisioned. With a steadying inhale, he rearranged his disguise in the reflection of the rearview mirror before stepping inside. Today marked the moment he would face Carl and begin to set things straight. Carl stood there, pacing near the register, clipboard in hand. As soon as Mark entered, he dismissed him with a wave. "Mike, please take action and fill the drink cooler before the lunch rush arrives." With a sense of urgency, Mark nodded in silence and set to work. As he knelt beside the cooler, he watched Carl, who was now berating a delivery driver for arriving 2 minutes late. It wasn't merely Carl's tone. It was the manner in which he addressed others, as if they were inferior to him. As the clock ticked forward, the deli began to bustle with activity. The familiar turmoil erupted, with customers growing restless, staff in a flurry, and Carl issuing commands from the rear without so much as moving an inch. Mark remained close to Mia, assisting her in navigating the hectic pace. Suddenly, an unforeseen event unfolded. A young boy, perhaps around 10 years old, entered with a wrinkled $5 bill in his hand. He approached the counter, a hint of anxiety evident in his demeanor. "Excuse me," he murmured gently. "Could I please have the tiniest sandwich available? I find myself quite famished." Mia bent down to align her gaze with his. "Hello there, darling. Are you certain that's everything you desire?" The young lad gave a slight nod. "This is the extent of my budget." Mark observed the gentle transformation of Mia's expression. She barely acknowledged the register. Instead, she took a hearty sandwich, a bag of chips, and a refreshing bottle of water. With a warm smile, she offered the food to the boy. "Here it is, no cost today, just make sure you finish it all right?" The boy's face beamed with joy. "I truly appreciate it." With a firm grip on the food, he rushed outside. Mark experienced a tightness in his throat. Mia had just distributed food without a moment's pause, fully aware of Carl's volatile nature and the threat it posed to her employment. However, Carl had witnessed the interaction. He burst forth from the rear, his face flushed with anger. "Mia, did you really just hand out free food? Is this a joke?" "It was merely a sandwich," Mia remarked, striving to maintain her composure. "The child was famished, Carl. I have no interest in this being a charitable matter. Do you really believe sandwiches just appear out of nowhere? That expense will be deducted from your salary." Mark moved ahead before he could rein himself in. "Carl, it was just one sandwich, move on." Carl turned, shooting him a fierce look. "Mike, this isn't your place. You're still learning the ropes, so let me handle my store my way." Mark stood firm. "This isn't your store. Running a business should never involve treating employees in such a manner." Carl's expression contorted with bewilderment and fury. "Who on earth do you believe you are?" Mark remained silent, for the moment. The remainder of the day crawled by, with an oppressive tension hanging in the atmosphere. Mia steered clear of Carl whenever possible, yet Mark noticed the burden of stress pressing down on her. She focused intently on her tasks, pouring her energy into her work, yet the familiar glow of her kindness seemed to fade. As the final customer departed and the doors were secured for the evening, Mark finally found his voice. "Mia, could you please linger a little while? I have something to discuss with everyone." She appeared perplexed yet acquiesced, while the other staff congregated around the sandwich station, evidently intrigued. Carl lingered near the register, arms folded, wearing an expression of annoyance. Mark inhaled deeply, removing his glasses and the artificial beard with a deliberate motion. "My name is not Mike. I am Mark Reynolds. I am the proud owner of this deli, as well as every other deli in this chain." The atmosphere shifted abruptly, Mia's gaze grew larger, and a cook let the spatula slip from his grasp, while Carl's complexion drained of color. "Excuse me, could you clarify that?" Mia spoke, her voice scarcely rising above a whisper. Mark gazed at her. "I arrived incognito to uncover the true state of affairs in my stores. What I have witnessed here, and what you all have been enduring is simply intolerable. Carl began to speak, but Mark interrupted him, his tone resolute. Carl, I'm aware of the skimming. I overheard your boast on the phone, and I've already verified it in the records. You have been taking from this company while showing a complete lack of respect for your staff. It's complete. Effective immediately, you're fired. Carl's jaw dropped in disbelief. You can't just... I can, Mark said sharply. And I just did. Clean out your locker. Carl paused, a whirlwind of emotions coursing through him, before he erupted, charging out and forcefully shutting the door in his wake. Mark addressed the remaining team members. I apologize. I apologize for the delay in recognizing what was unfolding here. Everyone deserves more than what they have. From this moment forward, everything is about to shift. He gazed at Mia. Mia, your efforts for this deli have truly exceeded expectations. Your compassion towards customers has been evident, even at the potential cost of your own job security. You've put in more effort than anyone ought to have to. If you're open to it, I'd like to offer you a promotion to manager. Mia's jaw dropped in astonishment. I'm uncertain if I'm prepared for that. You are, Mark stated with conviction. You have been fulfilling the responsibilities of a manager all along. It's time you received compensation for it. Mia's eyes glistened with unshed tears as she gave a small nod. Thank you, I won't disappoint you, Mark smiled. He glanced at the rest of the team, confident they wouldn't. As we move ahead, we will be putting new policies into action. Each team member enjoys a complimentary meal while on duty. Breaks are essential, and those who demonstrate dedication and kindness towards others will be recognized and rewarded. This deli ought to be a workplace that fills you with pride, rather than one that brings you dread. The team shared bewildered looks, grins gradually blossoming on their faces. As Mark exited the deli that night, a mix of fatigue and optimism washed over him. There remained tasks ahead, yet for the first time in ages, he sensed a genuine sense of leadership over his company. 2 weeks later, Mark returned to the same deli. This time, he revealed his true self. He entered through the front door clad in a straightforward button-up shirt and jeans, aiming to appear friendly. The atmosphere of the store had already shifted. The atmosphere felt more buoyant. The team operated with zeal, and even the patrons appeared more content. Mia, adorned in a sharp manager's apron featuring her name stitched elegantly, stood behind the counter. She guided a new hire through the process of assembling a sandwich, her tone warm and supportive. Mark experienced a surge of pride as he observed her dedication and skill in her craft. Mia caught sight of him and her face brightened. Mark, you've returned. The remaining members of the team shifted their gaze. A handful waved while others shouted their hellos. Mark beamed and returned the wave. I wanted to touch base and find out how everything is progressing. Mia gracefully navigated around the counter and approached him in the seating area. Improved. Much improved, she remarked, her tone brimming with appreciation. Your support has been invaluable, and I truly appreciate all that you've done. The complimentary meals, the pauses, simply everything. It has significantly impacted the situation. Mark waved his hand towards the deli. The credit isn't solely mine. You've been in charge all along. How have the new policies been working out for you? Mia beamed. Initially, there was a degree of skepticism among some of the staff. They were skeptical that any real change would occur. However, once they realized the free meals were genuine, the breaks were upheld, and Carl was truly absent, their trust began to grow. And Mark gave a slight nod. Well done, you've rightfully gained that trust. Mia paused briefly, then spoke up. Oh, and I wanted to share something with you. Do you recall that young lad who walked in amidst the lunch crowd? The individual to whom I provided the food? Mark's demeanor became gentler. Certainly, what is the matter with him? A few days later, Mia mentioned he returned, accompanied by his mother. She expressed that they were experiencing difficult circumstances and conveyed her gratitude for the assistance I provided to her son. She even suggested reimbursing me, but I assured her it wasn't needed. She appeared utterly relieved. They occupy my thoughts frequently. Mark sensed a constriction in his throat. This deli truly required that level of compassion. Your decision was commendable, Mia. At that moment, the door swung open, revealing a man clad in a suit who stepped inside. Mark identified him as one of the district supervisors who answered directly to him. The man hesitated upon spotting Mark, then quickly made his way over. Mr. Reynolds, your presence here is quite a surprise to me. Mark shook his head, a subtle smile playing on his lips. At this moment, it's solely Mark. Today, I find myself in the role of a customer, he said, glancing back at Mia. Continue on your current path. I'll pick up a sandwich and let you be. Mia smiled brightly. Absolutely complimentary. Naturally, Mark laughed. Absolutely not. I'm not going to pay any more than anyone else. As Mark stood in line, he keenly observed the staff around him. The recent addition to the team, who had previously been observing Mia, was now adeptly managing the register with confidence. A young man in the back exchanged light-hearted banter with a cook while they prepared the orders. The difference was striking compared to the unease he had experienced during his covert visit. Upon arriving at the counter, he found Mia settled back in her place, diligently taking orders. What will it be, Mark? He expressed his willingness to accept any suggestion you might have. She chuckled softly. It shall be turkey on rye, then. While she toiled away, Mark rested against the counter. How is the team managing in Carl's absence? Mia lifted her gaze. There's a stark contrast. There's a newfound enthusiasm for coming to work, and while we're still busy, it's all manageable thanks to everyone's contributions. The customers have taken note as well. In a flash, Mark's sandwich was prepared and waiting for him. He carried it to a table by the front window and settled in to enjoy his meal. The sandwich was exquisite, yet it was the ambience that truly captivated him. Before departing, he summoned Mia for one final moment. He pulled out an envelope and said, I have one more thing for you. Mia gazed at him, her brow furrowed in confusion. What is this? Mark referred to it as a thank you bonus, acknowledging the effort put forth during the toughest times, the dedication to the store and its community, and the demonstration that compassion holds significance. Mia delicately peeled open the envelope, her gaze expanding in surprise as she caught sight of the check nestled within. Mark, this is overwhelming. This is unacceptable to me. You can and you will, Mark declared with conviction. You truly deserve it. Utilize it in any way you see fit, whether you choose to save it, spend it, take a vacation, or fulfill any other need you may have. Mia's eyes glistened with tears, yet she managed to smile through the emotion. Thanks a lot. I'm at a loss for words. You've made your point, Mark responded. As he stepped out of the deli, Mark experienced a profound sense of satisfaction. The deli was well taken care of, and he understood that the adjustments they had implemented would resonate throughout the entire chain. After years of detachment, he finally experienced a genuine bond with his company and the individuals who shaped its essence, promising himself to cherish that connection forever.